We welcome our dear friend and Unity speaker, Reverend Stephen McAfee, for the message and meditation, Making a Difference.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, sitting here, pretty easy to listen to that song and experience the truth of it. Pretty easy out there to forget. Have you noticed? So I want to talk to you today about something called making a difference. And I was thinking about, we were having a conversation the other day about phrases that I heard a lot growing up as a kid, that you just don't hear anymore. And one of them, when I was a kid growing up, I heard about making a difference a lot. That mattered. And that it should make a difference to the world that we were here, and we were in it. And when I was younger, a man trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but what I did know is I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something that helped. I wanted to do something to make things better. And I knew a lot of people who did that. I still know a lot of people, even my age, who started into their professions because they wanted to make a difference. I mean, have any of you ever had in your whole life anywhere, public school system or elsewhere, a really, really good teacher? Yeah. And the difference they've made in your life? How many of those people you think went into that to make a lot of money? If you know any teachers, the answer is 0, because they don't. They went into it to make a difference, at least the ones I know. Most of the musicians that I know, personally, including the one who's running the soundboard back there now, and some other ones that are really talented, are not rolling in dough from expressing their talent to the world and uplifting people through their music. Same with art. Same with a lot of the performing arts and visual arts and creative arts. So, the other thing that I noticed, kind of like what Andrea said before, as the intro to what she shared, we have so much media presence now in our lives that the bombardment, I think that was the word she used, this constant, almost assault of horrific things, or at least troubling things, happening all the time, that it's really hard not to get overwhelmed by that, if you pay much attention to it, at least for many of us. And a lot of people who are in this church, and others like it, other spiritual movements like it, are what I tend to think of as kind of sensitive souls. They kind of feel things. There are a lot of feelers here. And if you're a feeler and watch the news, whew, right? Yeah. So that all seems so big sometimes. And so if we want to make a difference in that, how do we do it? How do we make it? Can you call up President Biden or President-elect Trump and say, hey, I have a good idea? And they'll listen to you and go, wow, thanks so much, Chris, for that. We're going to implement that right away. I think not. You know? Can you step into the middle of the conflict between Israel and Hamas and go, oh, wait a minute, guys. Let's just all get along and be nice. And suddenly everything will change and now everything's fine. You think that's going to work? No, it doesn't work. So we're really frustrated with how can we make a difference in this, in all of this. And here comes the really important part where you're waiting for me to tell you the answer. So am I. So I want to tell you instead 2 things. One is just a short quote from Jesus, because you know me, I like that guy, and I quote him all the time. And two is an old story that I first heard actually from an Indian guru in a satsang, even though it's not an Indian story. And you probably heard the story too. But first, the quote from Jesus. This is from Matthew 5. "You are the light of the world." Is he wrong? So if we are, then shouldn't we be bringing light to the world? And he goes on to say, "A town built on a hill is not hidden. Neither do people light a lamp in their home and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand so that it can give light to everyone in the house. In just that way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify our Father who is in heaven." So, letting your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds, is not an internal act of wishing things were better. It is an action of doing good deeds. That's how you let your light shine. Not thinking it, not believing it, not hoping for it. Doing something. That's how it's revealed. And what came to me recently, strongly, is that here, it's pretty simple for me to do good deeds and talk nice. You know, it's pretty simple. Look around, everybody's like, "Oh, Stephen's a pretty good guy." Some people think Stephen's a really good guy. Some people think, you know, but we got him this week, we'll put up with him. You know, but it's not a hostile environment. It's pretty simple to do that here. It's pretty simple if you know people are watching and these people have a spiritual orientation and mindset. It's pretty simple to try to live up to that and present that side of yourself, because we all have that side of ourselves. But the people that live with you day in, day out, every single day, the people that work with you day in and day out, every single day, the people in your family that have been part of your family since they've been born or since you've been born, those people, how do you treat them? How do you talk to them? Yeah. Right, exactly. There are some married couples here that know what I'm talking about. There might be some others of you that know what I'm talking about too. Who is the easiest person to snap at in your world? The one you're closest to. Isn't that absurd? Who is it easiest to hurt? Who do you know best how to hurt of all the people you know? The ones you're closest to. And it would be nice if I could say to you, I don't do that. But that would be a lie. I can tell you I don't like doing it. And I really don't want to be like that. But do you ever just get caught up in stuff? And it happens? Yeah. Then what? Then what? Do you make that a habit? Well, it's okay. They love me, so I can treat them like crap, because they're always going to be here. You know, if you behave toward your boss the way you behave towards somebody in your household, you wouldn't have a job very long. Because it wouldn't tolerate it. People in our homes, people in our loving circle, whoever they are, shouldn't tolerate it either. Including you. You shouldn't tolerate it when people treat you like that. And I don't mean none of us have emotions. Emotions are transient, and they're very strong, and we react to them. Is that not true? So sometimes we're reacting. Where, you know, I don't generally think it's a good idea to go around using profanity in the house, but if I seriously hurt myself in the midst of trying to work on a project and smash the crap out of my thumb, you would not want to hear a few of the words that pop out of my mouth before I think about what's popping out of my mouth. Well, you wouldn't. Well, maybe you would. Maybe you'd laugh and go, see, he says it too. But I know I have a rabbi friend one time that I actually saw doing something, getting really frustrated, and he used a short, not even a really bad, but a short 4-letter word that I never thought would escape his mouth. And I thought it was great because I thought, well, I'm not the only one. So So anyway, so here's the story. It's called the starfish story. You probably heard it. And there's lots of variations of it. So I'm going to tell you the variation of it that I heard from the Indian guru from Punjab. And he was speaking his English satsang. And so he said, once upon a time there was this large beach, and there had been hundreds, maybe thousands, of starfish that had washed up on the beach and then the tide went out and they couldn't get back out into the ocean. And starfish can't breathe in the air. They can only breathe in water. So they were dying. They were all suffocating to death and dying. All along the beach. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them, everywhere on this long beach. And there were people looking at that going, isn't this sad that so many starfish are dying here? And one of them was a man walking along looking at them, and he came upon a young boy, maybe 7. And this boy would pick up the starfish and throw it back out as far as he could throw it, get it into the ocean so it was back in the water. And the man said, what are you doing? And the child said, well, I'm saving these starfish. I'm putting them back in the water. He said, look, take a look, look up and down. There's thousands of these starfish. There's one of you. You can't possibly save these starfish. You can't do it. And he was right. And the boy thought about that and kind of teared up a little bit because he realized he couldn't. And so then he bent down and picked up another starfish in front of him and threw it back into the ocean. And the man said, well, I just explained to you, why are you doing that? It doesn't make any difference. You can't possibly make a difference to all these starfish. And the boy said, it makes a difference to this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what we can do. Yeah. The one in front of you, you can make a difference to. Whether it's your spouse or your best friend or your child or your neighbor or your coworker or somebody sitting next to you right now in the seat to the left or right of you. That one you can make a difference to. And that one can make a difference to somebody else. And ultimately that does affect the world. But it takes a long time because there's a lot of people for that to transit through. So it's not like you do one good deed and then you show it on the news and go, oh good, everything's better now. No, it doesn't work that way. You may never live to see the results of what you do. You may have people in your life that you have no idea you even did anything for. We one time at a restaurant here locally, my wife was a 6th grade teacher in the public school system for about 15 years. A waitress at this restaurant came up to us, who was not our waitress, came up to us and started didn't introduce herself, but said to my wife, are you Mrs. So-and-so? And she said, yeah. Turned out it was one of her 6th grade students who's now grown up. And she was working at this restaurant, so she introduced herself, who she was, and talked about what a profound difference my wife had made in her life. And said that she was working at the restaurant to pay for her schooling because she was going to become a history teacher like my wife. Because she had made such a difference in her life. Probably, if you had asked my wife before that incident, she'd have barely remembered this person, and if she had, she probably wouldn't have thought, wow, I really turned her around. She had no clue. How many times do you suppose that happens to us all? That we make a difference in somebody's life and don't know it. So I want to tell you a couple other things about starfish that you may or may not know. Starfish regenerate. They're one of the few animals that does that. If they lose a limb, they regrow it. You know they can regrow their entire body? Any cell in the body of a starfish can turn into a stem cell and turn into whatever it wants it to be. Yeah, well, I was right. Yeah. So starfish are a symbol of renewal. And have you ever been at a place in your life where you really needed that? Where you really needed to be renewed and restored because things had gotten really out of whack. Whether it was an addiction of some kind, whether it was a behavior pattern of some kind, whether it was a thought pattern of some kind, whether it was just the malaise of being in a troubled world and hearing about it 24/7 on all the media in your house. That renewal is possible for a starfish because it can be anything. Any of those cells can be whatever they need to be. Guess what? Guess what divine power we have? To be whatever we want. Not to make whatever we want happen. There's a lot of confusion about that. There's a lot of teachings out there. You can make life happen the way you want. Okay, show me. Because I haven't seen that happen. Have I seen people make a difference in what happens in their life? Of course. Have I seen anybody be able to control their life and make it happen just the way they want? Not one. Have I seen? If you're the first, come show me, because I really want to know how to do that. But what I have seen is that you can be anyone you want. You can create what you want to be, the kind of person you want to be, the way you want to live, the kind of values you want to embody. You have the ability to do that. Like the starfish. The other thing that I want to mention about the story is sometimes a couple of things that maybe aren't always pointed out is there were other people on that beach watching all the starfish die. Do you know what all of them did? They all felt sorry for the starfish. How much did that help the starfish? They all still died. What if 30 people had been on that beach and all of them did what the boy was doing? What if 100 people had been on that beach and all did what the boy was doing? Nobody did it. Just this boy. When we hear the story of how Moses freed the people of Egypt from over 400 years of slavery, led them to a promised land, created an entirely new religion called Judaism, set up an entirely new race of people, set up an entirely new way of looking at God that actually was unique in the world. And out of that came Jesus, who set up another unique understanding of that teaching and set up things that unfolded from all of that. All of that started when when Moses had the encounter with the burning bush in the desert. This bush that was burning and burning but wasn't being consumed. And thought something's going on here and paid attention to it and went over and began to communicate with the energy or spirit or presence that was being demonstrated in that bush. That was when he connected to God. That's what led him to be the Messiah. That's what led him to lead the people out of slavery. That's what led him to do what he did and create everything that's come from that, which is, we wouldn't be here because unity wouldn't exist because there would have been no Jesus and no teachings like that had Moses not responded to that bush and brought forth what he brought forth. It all started with that. You think there was a bush burning in a flat piece of desert where people were all around and he was the only one that saw it? Or do you think he was the only one like the boy who responded to what he saw? They all just went, that's weird, and walked on by. You might see things that 10,000 other people see, but they're not paying attention. And you can. You can respond to what you're seeing. That makes a difference. That made a difference then. It makes a difference in the starfish story. It makes a difference now. The other thing that people don't notice about this story, because it's not the main part of the story, but the other part of the story is, so why were the starfish all dying? Because they were stranded on the beach. They were not where they belonged. And if you are not where you belong, a slow but sure inner death starts to happen.
Right.
Yes. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something in you starts dying off. You don't feel like you anymore. You don't think like you anymore. You don't act like you anymore. You're not where you want to be anymore. Because you're not where you belong. You're caught up in something, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a church, whether it's something that you grew up in. It's like, well, I'm supposed to be here, except I hate being here. I don't get anything out of being here. I don't want to be here. I resent being here. This is painful. I don't want to live like this, but here I am. I'm supposed to do this. If you're not where you belong, you're going to kill something inside you. You need to find where you belong. How many of you came to this church because you tried other ones first and you didn't belong? Yeah. Yeah. How many of you maybe even grew up No offense, but how many of you maybe even grew up in a family where you felt like you didn't fit? Like you were the oddball. It's like nobody gets me, you know? I think it was Todd Rundgren, Michael would probably know this, but there was a musician one time, had an album out, and he's standing in this kind of like a New York City, very busy, very hectic, kind of dirty downtown metropolis. And he's looking up with this confused look, and it's entitled, "Oops, Wrong Planet." Yeah, remember? Yeah. Ever felt like that? Yeah, me too. So we need to find a place where we fit. We need to find somebody we fit with, whether it's a romantic thing like a spousal relationship or marriage, or whether it's not, whether it's a friendship, or whether it's in a working environment, or whether it's a spiritual community. We need to find some place where we belong. And one of the things, I don't know if you've thought about this, but if you have good friends in your life, my hunch is that one of the reasons they're good friends is because you feel comfortable. You feel at ease with them. You feel like you belong. You feel like, and it doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. I would have zero friends if I had to agree with everything about every issue with every single person. There isn't anybody like that. You know why? You know why you can't find anybody who 100% believes in you, 100% looks at everything the way you do? Because God created us unique. That means one. There is nobody else who sees things the way you do. Entirely. But there are people that you belong with. And there are people you don't. There are places I could take you in this city and put you down in that environment, and you're going to feel like, I don't belong here. And really want to get out of there. There are people in those environments that I could bring here, and they'd probably feel the same way. I don't belong here. Because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with where they're at inside. So we need to find places where we belong, which basically to me means we need to find a place that honors who we are as we are and welcomes us expressing that, as opposed to resist us expressing that, tells us how we can't possibly be that and how we're never going to be able to be that. Who needs to be in an environment like that? So finding where you belong is another important part of that. And starfish were designed to be immersed in the sea. That's where they're designed to thrive. That's where they live. Do you know what we're designed to be immersed in? Love. And the less we're immersed in it, the worse we get. Is that not true? Yeah. The more we feel cut off from it, the more we feel unloved, the more we feel unlovable, the more we feel like we can't love because it's too painful, too dangerous, too risky, too embarrassing, too something. The more we are disconnected from that, or feel disconnected from that, the worse we get. And the worse our attitude toward everything becomes. So we're designed to be immersed in that. That's where we breathe. That's where our soul breathes. In that sea of love. That's where it's designed to be. So this boy in the story took action. And that's how we make a difference. So how do we affect the whole world? We don't live in the whole world. You don't live on that big scale where multiple nations of the world are coming to you and saying, Chris, what do we think about this? What are you going to do about this situation? Not happening. Nobody comes to me and says, well, what about the nuclear arms thing in Iran? Nobody asked me that. And if they did, they wouldn't care what I said. You know, so wouldn't make the news. We don't live in that world. There is a world you live in now. It is the world of people you see every single day. That is the world. That's it. That's the world. That's your world where you were placed. That is your world. I know a few people who are multimillionaires. And do you know what? They live differently than I do. They spend differently than I do. They think about money differently than I do. Some of them have 3 and 4 and 5 homes all over the place. I can afford this one, thank God, so far. You know, but I'm grateful to have this one. They have multiple cars. I know people who have very expensive, very nice cars. And honestly, you know, they are stored in a garage or a barn, and they never drive them, they never come out, and they never do anything with them. But they will not sell them because it's their car. That's different than me. They live in a different world than I do. Same planet, different world. You know what I'm saying? The people who woke up this morning and had to have a drug fix and would do anything to get it, woke up this morning in a different world than I did. And they could have woke up in the same city, even the same block. Not the same world, though. And their kind of relationships and the way they look at relationships and the way they believe what is and isn't possible in life is different than me. It's different. So where your world is where you live. That's the world. That's the only world you've got. You can't live in this big world. You can't live in Ghana and China and Japan and Detroit and Canada and Hawaii and the UK and Fort Wayne all at the same time. You can't do it. You live one place. You live where you are. That's your world. That's the world that you're entrusted to bring light to. Not this one. That, but we get it turned around and we think our job is to save that world. Our job is to bring light to that world. And that what we do in this world doesn't matter because we're supposed to save that one. That's exactly backwards. Save the people you're with.
Amen.
And more importantly, maybe, let them save you.
Yes.
Do you have any awareness of that there are some things in you that are not great? That you have behaved in some ways that you would not want me to announce from up here to everyone? Yeah, Michael's going, shh. So right there, we serve right there. Why would God put you where He doesn't want you to serve? You're put right where He wants you to serve. And that doesn't always mean it's an easy place to do it, by the way. Sometimes being vulnerable to the people you... This is, I know, I'm weird again, but I'm trying to be honest up here because it's a new year, and I think it's important we get some things straight. Or at least it's important I get some things straight. You know, so, if we cannot be our best self all the time, if we cannot do that, and I for one cannot do that, I wish I did, and I wish I could tell you, I'm always my best self. It's absolutely not true. I'm not always my best self. I get cranky, I get caught up in things, I get scared of things, I act out of fear sometimes instead of out of love. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I do that. The people that we should be our best self around most of the time and make our best effort to be our best self around most of the time are not them. Right? The person sitting next to you right now, or the person you go home to, or the person you go to work with tomorrow, or the people right behind you. Right? That's the people we should be our best self with as often as we can. Because they're the people that matter most to us and vice versa. Now, all of that sounds pretty decent, I think. And I think we can understand all that. So again, right here, I think of it this way, and it's not literally true, but it's kind of metaphorically true. When you're sitting here, we're in a bubble.
Yeah.
We're insulated from all the crap out there.
Yeah.
At least right for the moment. We're in this little love bubble. Nice! We're in this little bubble. And when we walk around in that bubble, it's pretty good. Hey, I just dropped the microphone. Hey, look, I just came from Unity. Life is good. You leave here and you go to a restaurant and have lunch and you're really nice to all the waiters and waitresses. Like, I'm in this bubble. Good bubble, come on in. And we're good. And then after a while, the atmospheric pressure of the world out there starts pushing on the bubble. And it starts getting a little thinner and a little smaller, a little thinner. And pretty soon, there's no bubble, and we're going, and instead of going, hi, we walk into a restaurant, hi. And you sit down, and what do you want for? I don't know. And all of a sudden, there's no bubble. Here, easy to believe these things. Easy to give consent to them. Easy to take them in and go, yep, that's it. That's the way I want to be. This is good stuff. Now stay out there for a week and feel exactly that same way. Isn't it a little bit harder for you out there? Or am I the only one that it beats up on? Yeah, it's harder. So what do? We come back here. Oh, good. Well, good. Bubble. This is great. Let's just have the service last till Thursday. How about that? Then we party Friday and Saturday and come back Sunday. That would be good, right? But it's hard to do. So I'm going to sing a song for you in a minute, but I'm going to give you a present first. So this is, I'm going to pass these around, and I want to tell you about them momentarily. In this little basket, there's little bags, separate bags. In the bag is the starfish story that I just told you. There's also a starfish pin, which you can pin to your shirt or coat or whatever. And the idea of the pin is to remind you that it matters to this one. And if somebody happens to see you wearing that pin somewhere, if you choose to wear one, and says, hey, why are you wearing a starfish? Tell them the story. Because it matters to that one. And so what I'm going to do is pass these around, and you are welcome to take one of these bags if you're inspired to do so. And you can just keep the story for yourself, or you can wear the pin, or you can do both. And what I'd actually suggest you might want to consider is take one for you, and take an extra one to give to somebody. Because not everybody's heard the story. And maybe somebody should hear the story. You hadn't heard it. How many people have not heard that story? Not heard that story? Oh, well, look at that. Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to, remember in the old days when we used to pass a collection plate around? Well, this is the opposite. This is a take something out plate. So I'm going to start it this way. We'll pass it, and if we run out, I don't think we will, but if we run out, it'll be like the fishes and loaves. We have more in our house. So unlike the fishes and loaves, I won't be manifesting anymore right here. But if you get a hold of us, we'll be glad to send you some. All right? So here we go. Now while this is going around, I'm going to just play a little tune that seemed kind of appropriate to me. This is something I wrote years ago for some really good friends of ours, and kind of seemed to fit today. It's called Taking Turns. Sorry? Yeah, actually, so yeah, to be exact, many of you know Lisa and Larry Harrell, who used to be here. We used to do a lot of music together back in the day, and hung out a lot together, and so I wrote this song actually for them, but, so let me get this one here. Alrighty. So it goes like this. When my heart is full of joys I want to share, I run to you and know you will be there to stand with me in wonder of all that God has done. Sharing simple pleasures of stars and rain and sun, to to come together like harmony in song, knowing we each belong. Round and round we go, through happy times and sad. Sometimes we fly, then sometimes we fall. It's good to know we are here to share it all. When my hands have failed me, I will use yours. When my strength has left me, I will lean on yours. And when the night is falling so hard I cannot stand, I'll turn to you again. When my troubles pass, I'm strong again. I'll take my turn, and you can hold my hand. When your hands have failed you, you can use mine. When your strength has left you, you can lean on mine. And when the night is falling so hard you cannot stand, just turn to me, my friends. Just turn to me, my friends. So, as the basket finishes going around, let's just bring our attention inside. And begin to remember that one way or another, we're making a difference. We are making a difference because even when it's difficult, we show patience and compassion and forgiveness. Or we don't. We make a difference because we choose to love people that are easy to love and even people that are difficult to love. Or we don't. We make a difference because we open our lives and hearts to people, because we're willing to reveal that which is good in us, that God created, that is far deeper, far stronger, and far more everlasting than any of the nonsense that our egos have come up with and layered upon top of us, to the point that sometimes it's hard to see that light inside. We make a difference because we stop letting those things of fear run our choices, determine our behaviors, and decide how we're going to treat those around us. We make a difference because we choose not to do that, because we choose, even when we fail, to try one more time, to act in love, to speak kindly, to be welcoming, to offer a healing instead of a hurting hand. We make a difference to the people who are in our everyday lives because the moment we're taken from those lives, everything is different for those people in our absence. So in this silence, Lord, we ask that you help strengthen us and the resolve in us to make a difference through being our best selves, starting with the people we're closest to, and slowly moving out beyond them into wider and wider circles. May you grant us the blessing of desiring to be our best, even when it's difficult, even after we have failed, to resolve to do it again and do it better. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was talking about what he understood it meant to have been successful, to have lived a successful life, a life that made a difference. And this is what he wrote: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of young children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and be able to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to always find the best in others, to leave your world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a redeemed social condition, but essentially this: to know that even one life has breathed easier because you lived. That is to have succeeded. Amen. Thank you.